This is a story about gratitude. The story includes a home, 2119 to be specific. The story also includes mulch, 54 bags to be exact. And among other things, the story includes the narrator's sister dressed as a clown.
What are you doing?
The question this story will attempt to answer is, why would a person, on the hottest day of the year, cut down several tree branches and build a large landscaping bed at a house owned by his family, but that was already sold and just days away from closing? Why would a person do that? There are 3 time spans to this story. The first, and the saddest, goes from June 2014 when the narrator's mother died until March 2022 when the narrator's father died. During this time span, 2119 went from being a home to simply a house. The decline of 2119 matched the health of the narrator's father. Living halfway across the country, it was hard for the narrator to see 2119 when he came home to visit. The yard was the first to go, and this was sad since the narrator's father had always taken such good care of the yard. Next were the porch and the patio, the site of so many gatherings and pre-homecoming and prom photos, was now dark and unkempt. Inside the house, the radius of functional and livable space literally closed in as the narrator's father grew more and more ill. During this time span, the narrator's brother was the primary caregiver of their father. When the narrator's father had a doctor's appointment, the narrator's brother drove him. When the narrator's father went to the bathroom at midnight but was too weak to get off the toilet, the narrator's brother got him back to bed. The narrator believes his brother is a true saint. The narrator's sister is also a true saint and made great sacrifices so that their father could have his wish, a peaceful death at home. The longest and most joyful time span of the story precedes the death of the narrator's mother and goes back to 1974 when his parents moved into 2119. 2119 was the narrator's only home growing up, and virtually all of his childhood is somehow connected to this house. Although it did go through changes and grow over the years, 2119 largely stayed the same, which only heightens the narrator's feelings of nostalgia. The gray paint and maroon shutters on the exterior, the brown carpet on the inside. In the living room, the wood-paneled wall literally never changed. And the kitchen chair. That chair stayed in the same place for decades. That chair was also the site of the narrator's most awkward moment. When the narrator came home from school in 5th grade, the day where he had the talk, his parents sat him down on that chair and asked if he had any questions. Fortunately, the narrator had many less awkward moments at 2119.
Hey there.
Happy birthday, Steve. I love you.
I love you too.
Steve, get over. No, David. David.
What?
Take a picture of me and
Okay.
The final time span of the story is the first week of July 2022. It is both painfully sad and emotionally fulfilling. It is painfully sad because the narrator and his siblings cleaned out and said goodbye to 2119. Furthermore, most of the narrator's mother's stuff was left untouched after her death, and the narrator felt many wounds reopen in going through his mother's stuff. His mother had a lot of stuff. The hardest part was donating his mother's clothes. He has so many memories of her wearing those clothes. Going through his mother's stuff was also emotionally fulfilling for the narrator, since he found several letters and photos from his mother's family, whom he loves very much. The one person he never met was his maternal grandmother Betty, who died 5 months before his birth. The narrator was mesmerized to find several photos of young Betty, previously unseen to him. He particularly loves this photo of Betty and his grandfather before they had kids. The narrator is the oldest of Betty's 9 grandchildren, and considering how much he loved his other grandparents, particularly his grandma, he deeply regrets that he didn't get to know Betty. These images bring to life for him what a kind, supportive, and beautiful person she was. The narrator also sees his mother whenever he sees Betty, and he loves this new connection he feels with his mom. Also emotionally fulfilling was the time the narrator spent with his siblings. They always have fun together, and despite the circumstances, this time was no different.
Oh crap, did I completely miss?
Nailed it. You guys hear that?
There were margaritas and endless nachos on more than one night.
What would you?
I don't trying to embarrass me.
There was the papier-mâché giraffe the narrator made as a child, about to be thrown away. But the narrator and his siblings gave the giraffe a second life, and it was last seen in the attic. Live on, papier-mâché giraffe, live on. And the clown costume. The narrator's sister found their mother's clown costume from a Halloween long ago, so naturally, she put it on.
I'm a clown. You like it? Oh, look at what she put a little sad in.
Oh, they want to see you. They miss you. You're their mother.
It was both a lighthearted and an introspective moment for the narrator and his siblings.
What you guys?
Clown show.
Oh my god.
Mysteries were unearthed as the house was cleaned out. The narrator and his siblings found several photos of this man. After wondering if he was their father's secret lover, they discovered he was only a character on a reality TV series watched by their father, and their paternal grandfather, whom they simply called Grandpa. Turns out, Grandpa was missing his right middle finger, and they had no idea until 2022 when going through these images. There were many things that demonstrate the narrator's mother's proclivity towards keeping anything and everything. The Amelia Earhart suitcase she received for Christmas in 1969 and kept for the rest of her life. The shelves her parents had in their first house, and yes, they now have a new home. See that lock of hair from the narrator's brother's first haircut? Yep, she kept it. The Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls from Christmas 1975 that were always around somewhere in 2119. The little sign she made for every birthday. Her own shoes from when she was an infant. The banana stickers the narrator and his siblings put on the dining room table when they were kids. The creepy but fun clown sprinkler the narrator and his siblings played with years ago found a new home with the narrator's sister. The scooter the narrator's nephew now rides is the same one once ridden by the narrator and his siblings. And the flag proudly flown by the narrator is the same flag once flown at 2119. The narrator came to the realization that he has his mother's proclivity toward keeping stuff. The casts he wore after fracturing his right fifth metatarsal in 1994. The stuffed doll thingy from 1976.
No look.
It did not make the cut. His childhood model rocket collection. Some made the cut, some did not. Super Big Bertha did not make the cut, but she did have one more flight.
Oh, we made it. All right, leave it there, leave it there. Leave it there.
The narrator and his siblings enjoyed many backyard fires over the years, so they made one last fire using the overgrown branches the narrator cut down at the time he made the mulch bed. It was a fitting send-off fire. As the narrator said goodbye forever to 2119, he was of course sad, but the narrator was also very grateful. 2119 was not a big or fancy house, but the narrator was grateful for this home and his childhood and his siblings, and that he had two parents who loved him. He realizes that many people are far less fortunate. Despite his sadness, the narrator left 2119 feeling grateful for what he had rather than wanting for what he had not. And so this brings us back to the landscaping bed and the question about why I went through all the effort to build it. By anyone else's standards, this would seem like a waste of time, but for me, it was anything but a waste of time. It was my way to show gratitude for 2119 and everything it embodied and symbolized in my life. And I know this would make my parents happy and proud. I'm just not sure about the model rockets. Could go either way. Goodbye, 2119. Thank you for being a wonderful home for my family. To Dave and Sally, we did our best to be good stewards of 2119 during our final days there, and I think we did right by Mom and Dad. Thank you for being the best siblings I could imagine. I love you. And to Mom and Dad, thank you for everything. I miss you, and I love you.
What are you doing?
Nothing at all. There's nothing. What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it, Mom.
What is he doing?
You're best not worrying about it.
This is what are you doing?
That's right.
They look good.
See much of your Christmas.
I know.
Get that thing.
What?
He's sneaking out of there. Get him. Get Bill.
Hello. What's up, G? Listen, Randy insisted I do this, and I didn't want to do it, Captain. And I hope it doesn't mean something bad or anything.
She's taking our picture. Oh, let me get down. Oh, yes, it is.
You ready?
Oh, what's up, Dave?